Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome if you guys are new. Today we're going to do something a little different. I was actually sent a couple of books to review. Now the Instagram page called Dramos and Bohemias, I hope I said that right, I'll put a picture on the screen for you guys, but they reached out to me and they asked if they could send me these books to review on my channel. So I was intrigued, I was interested about what these books might be about. All I really knew is it was kind of about, life after death and like the mysteries of the universe and stuff, and I was like, okay, like I'll definitely read these. So the first book they sent me is called Volume 1, The Transmission, and then the other one is Volume 2, Go to the Light. Now these are just two of their books. There are going to be 12 books in total. There's a third book out now and the fourth one is currently in the process of being made. So first of all, I just want to thank Dramos and Bohemias and the person that reached out to me on Instagram. Thank you so much for sending these books to me to review. I really appreciate that. With that being said, guys, I'm going to give you guys a full, complete, honest review of my genuine experience with the books because that's just who I am and I'm honest with everything in my life. So I've got my notes here and we are going to get right into it. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what the book's about. I'm going to try and summarize it the best to my abilities. I'm not going to lie, guys, these books weren't the easiest to read. I stuck a lot of sticky notes. I made a lot of notes because I was trying to, understand it to the best of my abilities. So first of all, what are these books? What are they about? So they are actually a dialogue during a channeled message. So Dramos is the channeler, and I believe these are just made up names because they didn't want their real identities put out there. From my understanding at the beginning of the first book, they basically said that this is knowledge that, all humans should have, so it's not something they want to take credit for. So Dramos is the channeler, and Bohemias is the interviewer. They're basically fulfilling a cosmic contract to relay this information to humanity. So I've been told that their roles are a little bit more like explained and they get more into that in the third book. So basically the being that is being channeled is trying to enlighten man being, which is us, essentially. And the problem being discussed is that man being is trapped in the earth plane existence and wants to go home. So basically our existence on earth is not necessarily like good for us. Like we're supposed to be, free to like travel as we want. And there are other beings that are involved in keeping us here, but I'm not going to get too much into that. The communication goes into great detail about why we are trapped on earth, what is stopping us from going home, and what we must do to enter a new state of awareness and what they call voluntarily disconnect. And this discussion will continue in the book. So they talk about the voluntary disconnect versus the involuntary disconnect. The voluntary disconnect is where they're trying to get us, but involuntary disconnect happens if you die and you're kind of forced to make this decision of whether you take this one route where they're trying to take us or go back to Earth to what they call a reincarnation cycle. So basically we're stuck in this reincarnation cycle. So we'll not get into too much detail. Again, it is so hard. It's just so hard to condense it. But this book goes into great detail about history, biblical references, pop culture, historical figures, disasters, among many other things. One thing I really liked about this book is when they talked about historical figures or history or biblical references, things that people may not be super familiar with. They actually put these little notes under each reference, so they give you a little summary about like what the Bible story is about, or what actually happened with this historical figure, or who they were, or what they did. Each of these topics are essentially tied into our human experience and our existence on Earth. So the goal of these books is essentially to modify our awareness and eventually get us to a point where we are prepared to modify our DNA and enter what they call our light body. So again, I apologize if any of this is not explained the best it could be. I am honestly doing my best. So my thoughts on this book. So I was intrigued to read these books because as someone who regularly contemplates these type of things, like I'm always thinking about what happens after we die, what is out there in the universe, because I know there's got to be more. The universe is so vast. I'll be honest though, although I am someone who believes there's much more to this life and our existence than this physical realm, this physical life on earth, I was still a little skeptical and I'm not really sure what I believe. There are honestly so many different beliefs across cultures, there's so many different books, there's so many different, experiences out there, it's really hard to know what to believe. And another thing with this topic is we don't have hard evidence. That's something that I, as someone who's spiritual, but also someone who has a background in science, struggles with, is I kind of need a little bit of concrete proof. I stand by my beliefs to a extent, but at the same time, when new information is introduced that is more on the spiritual side, I question things. There were many times in this book where they made some, statements and things that kind of clashed with my personal beliefs, so I felt like I did have a little bit of a tough time with that. And there were some really hard statements that I was kind of like, iffy about. I think a lot of people would find this book very, very controversial, and I mean, the experience is going to be different for different people, but there were a lot of controversial type statements made in these books. So do I believe these books? I am wary and I approach it with skepticism. Like I do with any piece of literature, I approach everything with skepticism. That's what I was taught. I went to school for psychology. We looked at scholarly articles. We didn't accept anything unless there was evidence for it. This is something that I struggle with because I can't just take a book that claims this is how the universe works, this is the all-in-one, answer to everything in this book, believe it. I'm not someone who puts full faith into something because that's just not who I am. It's the same reason why I have not been one to go to church. It's the same reason why I've never been interested to follow the Bible. I can't just believe that a book has all the answers. So at the beginning of this book, it actually tells you, while reading this book, to not intellectualize it, but instead just, take it in, just read it with feeling. I can't do that. When it comes to I'm reading something that someone's telling me they experience, obviously there's going to be some intellectualization happening because it's, again, not hard evidence. It's someone saying that they channeled this other being. I'm gonna approach it with some skepticism. I think it's intriguing. I personally think that it's really cool that people say that they can channel things, and I would love to be in an environment where I experience firsthand, see someone channeling information, because I think it's really fascinating. I found these books really interesting, but there is an extent to where I'm like, is it completely true? I don't know. What I do really like about these books is that they do get you to consider different possibilities about the universe, about existence. I'm always interested to hear about others' opinions, experiences, and I find conversations about the afterlife, time travel, immortality, and other beings from throughout the universe that aren't from here. I find that super fascinating, and these are all topics that you are going to encounter in these books. And if those are ideas that you like to consider, contemplate, think about, then I think these books are really cool and fun to read. So I guess what I want to say is that I think it's important to, be curious, explore, look within, be open, but also at the same time, you want to approach things in life with a bit of skepticism and ask questions, and don't be afraid to ask questions. So I think if you guys are interested in the books and seeing what they have to say, then by all means, read them for yourself. My summary is not going to do the best job for you because there's just so much involved in these books, and again, I only read the first two. This is something that you're going to have to experience for yourself. So if you're interested, then I'll put the link in the description box for their Instagram because they're very helpful, very kind. If you have any questions about the books, then they'll 100%, help you out. So yeah, guys, that is my review of Man Being Volume 1 and Volume 2. I do want to thank Dramos and Bohemias again for sending these books to me. It was really kind of you to do that. I do really, really appreciate that, and I hope you do understand how much I do appreciate that, and I did find these books really fascinating. But I think the experience and the ideas in these books are going to click with different people in different ways, and different people are going to experience in different ways. Not everyone's going to believe it, but I think it's still really cool to think about it, and we all have our own beliefs, our own experiences that is going to make it really a unique experience for that person. So anyways, guys, I hope you guys have an amazing day. Thank you so much for watching this book review, and I'll see you guys again in the next video. Bye-bye.